This is the What's New Mama podcast, and we are your hosts, Giselle and
Hi.
Amy.
Hello.
So this episode, we're going to talk about kids and social media, and I think like technology in general
Yeah.
applies to us, especially because our kids are a little too young to be using social media. But it's just so we can tell everyone our thoughts really on the
Yeah.
whole subject, not really what you should do or
Well,
you
it's
know,
something that it is, even though we're not living it right this very
yeah,
second, it is something that we need to talk about or think about how we're going to address when the time comes.
yeah.
Because it's inevitable, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Even
it's
from
coming.
like having an iPad, you heard me,
Oh.
an iPad to like look at Bluey or Miss Rachel or whatever it is,
Hmm.
like that's already an introduction
Yeah.
to these devices and what it looks like. Or people like kids unboxing new toys
Oh my God,
online,
that's so annoying.
you
That is
know.
so annoying.
Hey, listen, these kids are making bank. Like they have
Really?
millions in the bank. I'm like, how do you make this much money opening up toys?
Yeah.
Tom and I are in the wrong industry. Like, what are we doing? I heard this little kid makes like 10 million a year just like
Yeah. Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, so it is something that we've spoken about offline about, obviously the effects of it and how we're going to try and navigate that conversation once the time comes. Um I like right off the bat, I'm like, I know that if social media, like how it is now, were around when I was a kid, I know I would have developed definitely early stages of depression, anxiety,
Hmm.
and like body dysmorphia to like a whole nother level, all
Yeah.
these things. So I think about that, right? And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna, because you still want to be able to communicate with your kids, right? You want to give them a phone.
Hmm.
So am I just gonna give them a flip phone?
That's exactly what I was gonna say. I'm just gonna give him a flip phone. It's like
Probably, right? I
Sienna.
still have my Nokia, not Nokia, the Nextel phone. You remember
Oh
the
my God,
Nextel,
the
the
with the chirp,
walkie-talkie?
with
Chirp,
the
chirp.
chirp.
Yeah, I'll give Derek that
It's
one.
funny because Sienna actually was like, "Mom, I'm gonna get a cell phone when I'm 6." I was like, "Let's back this up
Let's back
just
it
a
up a
little
little
bit." I was
bit.
like, first of all, you're gonna be 6 in a couple months.
Okay.
Second, I was like, I got my, and I tried to explain this to her because it's so different because like you and I were both at like the cusp of when the internet
Hmm.
and all that stuff
We
started.
had life
Yes.
pre-internet
So,
and all
and
that.
cell phone and all that stuff. So it's kind of like very different to navigate, I think, than when our parents did. Because honestly, when I think about it, I'm like, my parents never really had that talk with me. Like, okay, you have to be careful with people on the internet, strangers, and
Yeah,
all that stuff. Because they really weren't aware to what was out there
yeah,
with the
yeah,
like the internet. Because I remember getting the dial up, going online, and talking to all my
yeah.
friends online, and it's like, but it
New
never
kids
really.
won't know what that sound is like or what that means.
Yeah, and even with me, like I would never, like it never even crossed my mind to join chat groups of like
Yeah,
strangers talking because it was just not in my nature to be curious
yeah.
like that.
Do you remember what was there? Roulette, like roulette chat? Do you remember that thing?
Oh yeah,
It was
yeah, yeah.
like
I heard
you would just
yeah.
like,
It would be
click on
like
something and it would connect you with some
random
person you don't know.
strangers. Yeah,
How dangerous
exactly.
is that?
But it
Like,
was like I
and
like I
we were
told you,
kids on this
it
shit.
wasn't. I'd never got on it. I've heard about it, but it was just like not, it wasn't like innate to me to want to be
Okay.
curious to talk to people. So it wasn't
Yeah.
like something I wanted to do,
Yeah.
which is I think different now because kids are more like, oh well, so and so is doing it, so I want
TikTok,
to do it, and
all
like they
that stuff.
see it, and so it's like it's a little bit different, just very different. And so with Sienna, she's like, oh, I want a cell phone, and I'm like, well, I'll give you a flip phone. You want to talk
Yeah.
to mom? You're gonna call me. You're gonna dial that number, or you're gonna
Yeah.
have something where it's just you can
Yeah.
easily dial it because I don't want. I'm like, who are you gonna talk to anyway?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
6. Who are you gonna
Yeah.
talk to? My first
Well,
cell phone was I was 18. I was 18.
it was a different time though.
I was
Yeah.
18.
I
But
mean,
literally, like a 6-year old, really, where is she gonna be away from me that
I
long that
know,
she's
that's
gonna
what I
need to
mean.
talk to
Like,
me?
where is the need for it? You know? Like,
That's what I'm trying to get at. I'm like, where do you need the phone? Really? You
so
have an
where did that
iPad.
come from though? Does she have other kids in her class that have phones?
I have no idea. I didn't even ask her because I would just shut it down. I shut it down. I was just
Okay.
like, no,
Okay.
absolutely not. Um, so I don't
Maybe
know
she
where why
sees.
she maybe
Ask her.
or just and because she does watch like YouTube and stuff, and that's another thing. Like she does watch stuff, but I'm listening. If I
Yeah.
hear anything strange, I'm running up to the thing and I'm like, no, you can't watch that
And you put
or
parental
whatever.
controls on your stuff
Like I
too.
check everything I check. I make sure I sit there and I watch whatever she's watching with her.
Well, remember we spoke about it the other day? I was like, you can create a separate iCloud like
Yes,
thing. And you were like,
yes.
what? I get to, and that helps you monitor everything
Mm-hmm.
and kind of set controls for all of that
Yes,
stuff.
and I did that for both of them.
Okay, good, good. But it is crazy. Like I remember, like, I mean, back in the day, like I didn't have a phone,
Yeah.
but during that time, my mom would also walk around the couple of blocks and try and find me, right? And she'd be like, "Giselle, ¿qué tú haces aquí? Ven pa tu casa." Like in the middle of the street, and I'd be embarrassed as hell, like
Hmm.
so. It is a different time. Like we're not gonna be out in the street yelling like, "Sienna, what are you doing?"
Yeah, I know. It's like I think about it. I'm like, when will you be that far away from me? Maybe when you're like a teenager and I start letting you out to do
Yeah.
things. That'll
But
be a
not,
little
I don't know, a
different.
6-year-old?
Not as
No.
no six. No.
Unless she's like, going into piano class and doing all these things and you constantly need to keep tabs on her to
Mm-hmm.
make sure she's okay. That's another story,
Mm-hmm.
right? But
Yeah.
even then, I'd probably get a Nokia i890, whatever, numeration flip phone that looks like one of those old Fisher Price like play
I know. Yeah,
phones.
exactly. And I have 5 preset callers,
Yeah.
and that's all you get.
That's all you get. You remember we used to have to wait for 7 p.m. for unlimited calling and
Yeah.
like text and all that stuff.
Yeah. I remember it was 7 or 9, depending on who you
Depending
had.
on the carrier that you had. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Remember Singular? You remember
Mm-hmm.
Singular Wireless? I think they got
Yeah.
bought off by AT&T. Anyway, back to like I'm getting derailed here. But no, it is a weird concept for us because we
Mm-hmm.
we grew up without it. I didn't have a phone until I could afford to buy one. It was never something like, "Oh yeah, here's your phone. Here you go,"
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it is scary. It's
Yeah.
so scary to I guess, have your kids have access to the outside world in that level, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't control necessarily every single aspect of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then kids are curious. Then they have another kid in school that's like, "Oh, did you know that you could do this? Did you know that you
Mm-hmm.
could do that?" Like they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. They're gonna explore. So I guess all right, you shut it down. Like you didn't really entertain
No.
the
No.
conversation about it.
Absolutely not. You're 6 years old. What are you doing with a cell phone? I mean, if you choose to give a cell phone to your kid, that's on you. I think it just depends on the
The
like
lifestyle. Yeah.
yeah, for us, it's not I'm always here. And
Yeah.
I'm picking her up. I am taking her places. She's always with me. So it's not like,
Yeah. She's not
she's
going away for summer camp or something like
no,
that, right?
no,
Like
no, no. I know. I'm like, no. There's people that do that, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know. That's if
The,
that's for you, that's fine. But like my kids, I don't think they would ever do that. To
you
go
mean
out
you don't think that you would ever do that?
to let
Because
them
your
do that.
kids,
No, I don't know.
maybe not at 6.
There's just
I
so
wouldn't feel
many.
comfortable doing that at
There's
6.
just so many things that you can't control when you send them out.
Yeah.
You don't know who they're being exposed to, who's taking care of them, what type of
Yeah.
person they are. They can be so good on paper, but you don't know if they have like stuff they do on the low.
Well, yeah, they're predators, but like it's a no, and this is like a very serious thing, obviously. Like I'll send
Yeah.
you links and stuff, but they say usually predators are the ones that you least expect, right?
Yeah.
And it's usually somebody close or somebody that you're like, that person, really? I would have never
Mhm.
thought, It's not
Mhm.
the typical like, creepy looking person, whatever that is, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's usually somebody that you never expect. And so
Yeah.
that terrifies me. And like, obviously I've shared here before, like me being a child and like trusting family members and
Mhm.
friends and them
Mhm.
taking advantage of that trust and my
Yeah.
family, my mom, my dad trusting people and then finding out that they took advantage of that trust, right?
Yeah.
And did something wrong with me. I look at that and I'm like, that was somebody close, right? So
Yeah.
imagine 6 degrees separation, that doesn't even really exist anymore. And then you look
Mhm.
at social media, a stranger that's online that's going to be like, oh, you look so nice today. Or like, that's a cool toy. Do you want to talk about, it's disturbing to me. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to wait on all that stuff. Tom and I talked about that the other day and we're like, maybe 12, 13, only for like, all right, I'm done with practice or we ended early or whatever it is, things like that.
Mhm.
But then I'm still gonna probably get a flip phone. They're not
Yeah,
getting
it, like,
a
it depends
smartphone.
on the time, the situation, and how mature your kid is too.
That's true. Obviously, you teach them, right?
Mhm.
Like what's appropriate, what's not appropriate,
Yeah.
but it is a delicate conversation to have. And I think for me, I need to kind of not instill the fear that I feel
Yeah, that's important to you.
onto Derek when the time comes, where he's gonna trust also, like in what we're teaching him,
Mhm.
that he knows where to identify, like where to set the boundaries and where not to. But
Yeah.
when we hone in on like the social media aspect of it all, that's a little different, right? Because even take away the predator aspect of it,
Mhm.
them being constantly exposed to, you know, if it's a girl, right? Like specific image and a look, makeup and hair and looking like this and dancing like this and all that stuff. But you in your household are trying to control how they behave, but then they see how somebody else far away does, right?
Mhm.
I think that's also something that's an influence that you may or may not, be prepared to kind of, I guess, have that conversation with or
Mhm.
handle. Um, that's what frightens me. Like if I have a
Mhm.
little girl, she sees somebody else, like let's say she's not as thin as the girl on camera or
Mhm.
whatever it is. And then that leads into some other negative behaviors and all that stuff. Because even us as adults with the mature brain, right? Like kids don't have a fully developed brain yet, right? So they don't know how to decipher between these things.
Yeah.
We as adults look at these images that are filtered, doctored, have stage lights, have all of these editing features, right? And we're like, man, I don't look like that. Like, oh,
Mhm.
tired today. I need to get Botox. I need to get this. I need to get that. So imagine a little girl looking at these images, and how do you expect their self esteem to be? How do you
Yeah.
expect them to feel like? And boys too, right? Like it's gender neutral. It's across the board. And so
Mhm.
that's what really worries me. Aside
Mhm.
from the predators, of course, that's a concern.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, how do you, because I know Sienna's, she's about to be 6.
Yeah.
And I know you mentioned it before about like even her comparing her hair color and her
Her
hair
hair color or
texture
her hair texture, yeah.
to like other kids. But then if you look at a smartphone, you're going to see all of these other kids and have
Mhm.
no limit, right? So
Yeah.
how do you feel going into that and
I
like
mean,
prepping for
like
those conversations?
I've already told her, like, this is what your hair is. Like, this is what you were born with. And then like I try to wear my hair curly
Which
too.
your hair looks amazing. I'm obsessed with it. I already told you that. I love it.
Thanks. I don't like it, but I try not to
You
like
don't say
stress
that to
on it
her.
too much with her because that way she's like, "Oh, well, you don't like your hair, so why
Yeah.
can I not like mine?" So I try to like tell her, "Oh, this is your hair. This is what you were born with. Everyone has different features."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not everyone's gonna look the same as you. I
Yeah.
was like, because everyone comes from different mommies, different daddies, and like I try to explain that to her, and she gets it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and everyone's beautiful the way they are, and you should accept everyone the way they are, and you don't make fun of people if they're
Yeah.
different. And I'm like, you wear glasses because you can't see otherwise. Like I just
Yeah.
tell her, look, like I try to explain it as kid like as possible, and she's
Yeah.
always like, okay. And she hasn't asked me about her hair being different anymore
Okay.
or anything. And I'm like, that's just your hair. I'm like, some people have straight hair, some people have yellow hair. I was like, can you believe some people have white hair? And I'm like,
Yeah.
I just
Look at
try to make
daddy's
it.
hair.
Yeah, I'm like, I try to make it like funny and stuff for
Yeah.
her, so she's not like, yeah, feeling left out in any type of way.
Yeah.
And then I'll show her other kids that have similar hair to her. So I'm like, it's
Yeah.
fine. And it's kind of helped that they're trying to diversify a little bit in the schools here. There's more diversity up here.
Okay.
Because it's kind of hard when it's only like American kids, white kids.
Yeah.
They're mostly blonde and light eyes or whatever. So it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of hard. But she has a little girl who has glasses in her class now too that
Yeah.
just started school. So she was just like, oh, okay, she's got glasses too. And
Yeah.
it's fine. So she hasn't had any problems actually
Oh,
with
that's
that. And
good.
then like they do a really good job in the school. Like they wrote like each kid gets like a week where they're the student of the week.
Oh, that's
And then
cool.
this was so cute. the teacher has them draw a picture of the
Yeah.
student of the week. Each
Okay.
student has a picture of
So
that per
wait.
student, right?
So the kids in the class draw a picture of the student of the
Of
week.
the student of the week. So
Okay.
Sienna was student of the week in December, I think.
Okay.
December might have been like the first week of December.
Okay.
And she came home with a book at the end that said like had all the drawings together of the
Oh,
kids, and they wrote a nice sentence about her. So it's
that's
like Sienna is
nice.
pretty. She got a Sienna is pretty from a kid that was making fun of her all the time. I
There you
was
go.
like,
Watch out for that kid.
I was laughing. I was like, okay. And it's like Sienna is smart, or Sienna is like, they write something, something
Yeah.
cute, and they draw a picture. And she got a lot of Sienna is kind, and I think that helped boost her, a little bit. Like
Yeah.
she was just
Okay.
like, okay, I might not be so different.
Yeah.
And they do that each week with a kid, so
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah. That's really nice. So, and I know we spoke about it with like Aisha
Hmm.
on I forget, I think it was the first episode with her. But and then Aisha, we're giving you a shout out. Hi. So if you subscribe to her newsletter, if you don't subscribe, it's great. But she recently shared something that was called representation, because it was talking about like how the Little Mermaid, right?
Hmm.
Was, there was all this backlash at first, negative talk and all that stuff. But then you have little girls that see this image of somebody that looks like them, right?
Hmm.
African American little girl, and oh my God, she looks like me, and look at her
Hmm.
hair, and all of these things, right? So when you look at that, and Aisha mentioned how it was nice to have that image for her girls to see,
Hmm.
and how that helps boost their confidence, and
Yes.
like feeling like, oh, that's me right there. I can see
Hmm.
myself in that setting, right? And that helps a lot. But when you take that's the positive side of social media. That's the positive side of having access to all these different images and videos and people around the world that
Hmm.
normally, 20, 25 years ago, we wouldn't have access to, we wouldn't see. You would
Hmm.
just see your immediate neighbors, right? And you and I was talking to Tom about this, like our demographic, I think 70% Caucasian, like
Hmm.
white, right? And
Hmm.
then Hispanic around where we are, I think it's like 13%.
Hmm.
And then it just dwindles down, right?
Hmm.
And I'm like, that's great. We look at the stats, at least now we know. So when you're educating your children on embracing their curly hair, their different texture, their brown eyes as opposed to light colored eyes, and all of
Hmm.
these things, you have something to show them on the phone if they don't see it in their immediate surroundings, right? And so
Hmm.
that's the flip side
Hmm.
of social media. And I think about that too. So I think that there is a healthy way of using social media and just the internet itself, to expose children to
Hmm.
something that they may not necessarily see in their immediate lives. But then there can be the other flip side, the toxicity of ultra filtered
Yeah.
photos, and, you know, do this, pose this way to look,
Hmm.
bring out your collarbone, like all these things that I've seen. And I'm just like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And it's a lot of look this way or do this in order to be accepted. And I think
Hmm.
that's the message, right? And it's hard to think of how am I going to navigate that
Hmm.
conversation when the time comes,
Yeah.
and a lot of it comes with my own self talk.
Hmm.
Like when I wear my hair curly and
Hmm.
saying and not vocalizing it out
Hmm.
loud of, oh, it's so difficult when I have my hair curly because it gets
Hmm.
tangled so easily,
Hmm.
or, whatever it might be. But I've learned to kind of not say that because Derek has curly hair. As of
Hmm.
now, I don't know what it's going to be when he gets older,
Yeah.
right? But those are the types of conversations that I'm
Oh, how
trying to
cute is he
learn.
gonna be? All like, imagine
Yeah.
he had like curly hair like yours. That'd be so cute.
But see, to me, it's so funny, right? Because I'm like, oh, that'll be so cute. But
Hmm.
then I had to think, and I know we spoke about this with Aisha, like I had to learn how to accept that with myself, because
Yeah, because
before I hated it,
it
right?
it it also comes back to our generational trauma,
Right.
because it comes back to our parents picking at the stuff that they
Yep.
didn't like,
Yep.
or bothering us about it like all the time. Like I told you, my mom used to straighten my hair with relaxer
With
all
the
the time.
relaxer, yeah,
So
yeah.
it's like, it just
Which,
all
look at
ties
your
back
hair.
to
It's
that.
so freaking gorgeous. Like I told you, if I and this is me now negative self-talk with myself, right? Because I'm like, if I
Mhm.
had hair like yours, I would wake up every single day and be like, I'm ready, you know? But then you're over here saying, oh my God, I hate it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go
Right?
wash it out and
I'm
go
gonna go
straighten
wash it out and blow it out.
it.
But I think those are the things that we can control, right? Because
Mhm.
I think it truly is going to get to a point that it is inevitable. They're going to be
Mhm.
exposed, whether we like it or not, to social media. We can control the controllables.
Yeah,
Give
and
them
you
a
always
flip
gotta
phone
like,
and
and you have to start by talking to them, like, just and complimenting them here too,
yeah,
because you have to tell them, oh, you look great and stuff. That way they just it just builds their self-confidence a little bit,
yeah.
and they're when they do see these things, they're not like,
I need to change myself and I need
yes,
to
you know.
alter myself in order to be as
Mhm.
cool or
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because truly, how are we going to ever make a change or even contribute to the positive shift with our kids' lives if we can't even have that dialogue with ourselves
Yeah.
sometimes?
Mhm.
Like, I'm not going to lie, there's times that I'll go online and I'm like, man, this mom had 3 kids and she looks chiseled as fuck. And I'm over here like still struggling to like lose
But I'm
this
like,
weight almost 2 years in. And listen, I know
it's
it's not about
sometimes I'm like,
comparing.
it's
No,
fake.
no, and listen, I'm gonna say this, like, yeah, it's not about comparing or any of that
Mhm.
stuff, but I have really tough standards for myself. I'm my own
Mhm.
worst critic. Again, this is all from that generational trauma and like childhood trauma
Yeah.
of hearing the negative self-talk that I'm not good enough and this and that, right? That I grew up hearing. And so it's like I constantly have to battle it every single day. So when I see things like that, I'm like, you know what? I've learned, over the past couple of months and stuff. I think when Derek was like 6 months, I started unfollowing a lot of accounts that I felt were contributing to not just, again, like I had obviously PPD and all that stuff,
Mhm.
but I felt was contributing to this imaginary pressure and
Mhm.
goal that I had in my head to lose the baby weight, to
Mhm.
get back to my abs and get back to my chiseled legs and all of these things that I had pre-baby,
Mhm.
right? And I was like, damn, if she could do it, how come I haven't done it yet? And I'm 6 months out, And you were like, it takes 2 years to like. You were one of the voices that was like, it takes 2 years. Like,
Yeah.
relax, give yourself time, you know. And I'm an adult, so imagine if I had a little girl, 12 years old, looking at these images,
Mhm.
like what it's doing to her head,
Mhm.
And yeah, we're building up children with better self confidence and
Mhm.
a better way of them dealing with criticism and all of these things. I totally get that. But there's things that are gonna slip through with this subliminal like imaging and messaging that's tied to these filters and edits that it does influence them. There's studies that
Yeah.
show that I think it's like we're at the height, like the most amount of children in this country, specifically in the
Mhm.
US, are on antidepressants and anti-anxiety medication. It's like, why? Like these are children, or like teenagers, and they realize, and then there was like a direct correlation to the social media exposure
Yeah, I did
and
see
having
that. Yeah.
smartphones.
Mhm.
And that's all over. Like you can literally Google that and there'll be like 20 articles, right? That'll show you the stats to the stuff. So we know that it's toxic. We know it's poison. So
Mhm.
why are we, I mean, we're guilty of it too. We have an Instagram page for the podcast. We have
Yeah.
our own personal Instagram pages for the podcast. Um, and I post pictures of myself, you post pictures of yourself. But I think why, right? Like,
Mhm.
why do we do it? And there's a scientific reason, the
Mhm.
dopamine effect.
Mhm.
You get the likes, you get the comments, you get all that stuff. It's a dopamine effect, you know? And so we're addicted to that now. Like
Mhm.
it's plain and simple. We're addicted to it. Oh my God, your kid looks so cute. Oh my God, that's a cute outfit. Where'd you get this? Oh my God, your hair looks so good. Oh my God, girl, I see those apps. We're addicted to it. So
Mhm.
as a kid, still developing their brain and their way of thinking and all of that other stuff, what is that addiction going to do to their brain at such an early age? And those are the
Mhm.
things that I think about. I'm like,
Mhm.
here I go. I'm going to go into Dr. Doom of like way of thinking. But it's scary. It's so scary to me. Um, but like just like our sister-in-law, like Jess,
Mhm.
like obviously she has like kids on and they'll do like little TikTok videos and things like that, but she has a healthy way of limiting it and
Mhm.
like exposing them to certain things and being able to control it.
Mhm.
But I'm like, that's a good way, like her way of handling it. I'm gonna have to turn to her when it comes to
Yeah.
that time frame. Like, what did you do when, if Maddie saw so and so, like, did she ever comment on this and that? Like, I'll ask her
Mhm.
because it's a lot. And, when you look at it from that perspective, I don't know, does it affect you at all when you see like certain moms online or other images of people online and you're like, "Eh."
I mean, of course, there's stuff like I just I'm like I told you before, and I didn't think I mentioned it that I'm into makeup and stuff. So
Oh
I'm
yeah,
always
yeah.
following all these influencers and doing all this stuff. I go
Yeah.
and buy this stuff. That's another problem I have. I just go buy stuff,
You get influenced by TikTok to buy
too
things.
too easily, if you
Yeah.
ask me. But I mean, I think there was a point when I was like in college, younger me, I was more influenced to see things and be like, oh man, why don't I look like that? But then it's like, as the older I got, I'm like, I don't look like that because I don't have the same body shape as this person. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
literally don't even look like this person. Why would I want to
Yeah.
be this person?
Yeah.
And I don't do that anymore to myself because I look at it and I'm like, well, I don't have that hair texture. So my hair will never be like that. And
Yeah.
I'm like, I definitely don't look like that. So I will never look like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I just like I tried to stop the negative thinking right away, I
Yeah.
guess. It's so when I look at things and I laugh and I'm just like, oh, I'll send it to my sister and I'll just be like, hey, have you seen this? And I'll just like make fun of it, I
Yeah.
guess. And that's just how I see it now. Now I
Yeah.
can say that I
But
don't
when you were
fall into
younger,
the trap. Probably when I was younger, I mean, it wasn't as um we didn't have social media as
no.
much
But
when
what
we were
did we have when
younger,
we were
so
younger? We
it
had Britney
was
Spears, we had Christina
but I
Aguilera.
they they're totally different. They look
But
totally
that's what
different
I
from what I
mean.
do. And
But
I
that's
was
what I
just like,
mean though. That was our little bit of
mm-hmm,
exposure, right? Like
mm-hmm,
I grew up looking at Jessica Simpson,
mm-hmm,
back in the day, Jessica Simpson, Britney Spears, Christina. There was really nobody that looked like me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Maybe Lisa Turtle from Saved by the Bell, that, but she wasn't Latina, right? So there
I feel
wasn't
like Selena helped a lot.
Selena. Yeah.
Jennifer Lopez helped a lot. Who else was there?
Yeah.
Like Thalia, like all the Mexican. I used to watch a lot of Mexican soap operas. So
Okay.
with my
Did you watch Maria
parents,
Maria?
yeah. I mean, I've
Yeah, I
watched
used to watch
all of them,
that.
because my parents this is what we used to put on.
Dos
So
mujeres, un camino, or was
yeah,
it? Yeah,
yeah,
that
yeah,
was.
yeah, yeah. So it's like I like I have to say that my parents were very good at exposing me with like the Latino stuff.
Yeah. But
So
but I
like we
still
used to
didn't
watch
even look like that.
Don
Like,
Francisco and all that stuff,
yeah.
and then whatever, and then but then I would go to like I went to Nicaragua and I went to Ecuador, and I still don't look like those people because I'm obviously a mix of my parents.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
like it's weird. I don't know. You just gotta find and be happy with yourself. I think some
But
self love,
it's
and
and
it's
this
hard.
it's hard. It's so hard, especially when you have your parents that haven't accepted features of their
Mhm.
own that
Mhm.
they now see in you. And
Mhm.
then they're looking at you like how your mom would straighten your hair and things like that, and
Mhm.
how my mom would comment on my nose and it being too
Mhm.
wide, and telling me I needed a nose job. Like
Mhm.
as a kid,
Mhm.
like that shit is wild.
Yeah, you
That's
gotta go
wild.
back and you gotta erase that.
Yeah, but it's ingrained, right? Or like
Yeah.
relaxing my hair. Like as soon as like they could, they would relax my hair,
Mhm.
And I was led to believe up until, my 20s, like my early 20s, that if I didn't have my hair relaxed or straightened, I was not presentable. That was
Mhm.
not like I estoy de cuidar. Like it was
Mhm.
just like not looked at as proper,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And then that's the Latino side of it. But then you go
Mhm.
into the professional side and the corporate worlds, and my hair wasn't accepted either.
Mhm.
Right. But that's the thing. Like, then I look at social media and I'm like, yes, like look at this,
Yeah, it's now
this,
more
this like
open to
natural
everything
hair,
movement. Yeah.
like, yes, girl, like this whole like, yes, queen, and this and that and whatever.
Yeah.
And as corny as it may sound, like Tom will constantly be like, oh yes, queen, like he'll make fun of it or whatever. But I tell him, I was like, do you know how important it is? Because I didn't have those images growing up. And
Mhm.
like he
Mhm.
gets it. Because when he hears how I explained to him about my hair texture growing up. He's like,
Mhm.
"What? But your hair is
Mhm.
beautiful. I love when he prefers when I have my hair curly
Mhm.
and out like that."
Mhm.
Right? And he helped me build that like confidence of like, and
Mhm.
he calls it what did he say? He's like, that's like me defying like what I grew up hearing, right?
Mhm.
And an act of
Mhm.
rebellion, right? Because
Mhm.
even when I would go visit other like family members and stuff, like the adults, not like my generation, they'll be like, "Oh, y esa greña," and like
Yeah,
you
yeah,
didn't find
yeah.
a comb, and like they'll make little comments like that that clearly
But you
are
also
an
gotta think
insult.
about, yeah, but you also gotta think about some people turn to insulting you because that's how they feel about themselves too.
Exactly. And obviously I know that, right? But younger me would get offended and
Yeah.
instantly be like, what are you,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
snap
yeah.
back. Now I'm like, I don't even talk to those people. Like I have the boundaries set up already. I don't even talk to them because I realize it's so toxic, negative
Mhm.
self-talk. And I'm working so hard every day of my life to like not jump back
Mhm.
into that, right? But I'm what, 34? I'm gonna be
Yeah.
35. 20. So I'm still at the balancing act midpoint. I have a lot more years of the negative that I'm still fighting up against.
Mhm.
And I connect that to, you know how when you say like, oh hey, you gained weight over, a matter of a couple of years, you're not gonna lose it in 2 months. Right.
Mhm.
So like you need an equal amount of time training your brain and yourself to combat these things
Mhm.
to like undo the damage that it's done,
Mhm.
right? And
Yeah.
learn how to self talk. And also, I don't want to bring that into my kids. I don't want
Mhm.
them to grow up like Derek has my nose. I don't want him growing up hating his nose or thinking he has to pinch it to make it smaller or that he's gonna need a nose job, you know?
Yeah.
Um, it's just crazy. I don't know. But then again, back to the point, I look at social media and then I see these beautiful images of the natural hair movement and all these women embracing their natural bodies and all of
Mhm.
these things. And I'm like, this is the good side of it, the positive side of it. So there is healthy aspects of it.
Mhm.
But narrowing down on social media, if I had to say an answer right now, which probably do because we have this is our topic. No, I'm not allowing my kids to have social media. They could have it when I feel that they're mentally able to handle what they're
What
going to
they're
be
seeing,
exposed to,
yes, exactly.
right?
Because it's even people commenting, saying
Yeah.
things. People don't care.
There's
They
so
sit
many
behind a
trolls
keyboard.
online.
People, I'm like, you know
Yeah.
what? That's what I
Yeah.
think.
But that's the thing, like, but it does seep into their
Yes,
subconscious.
it does. It
And on
does.
a serious level, like, obviously it's so serious, but on a serious level, how many articles have we seen of little kids like that have committed suicide
Yes,
or
because of people
because
bullying them
of
or saying things to
bullying them
them.
and saying things to them and they're it's just their brains are
This
not
is this is why whenever I hear
ready.
anything from Sienna, and I was like, wait, what? Who
Yeah,
said
you
something
want to
about your
know
hair?
what's
I'm like,
going
who?
on.
What kid was it? So we'll go. I'll pull up the picture of the class.
I will
Don't come for
point to
me.
who it
I'm
was.
like, who is it? And she'll be like, oh, I would say, well, this kid must be having a bad time at home if he's picking on you, is what I tell
Yeah.
her. I
Yeah.
was like, so you ignore it because look, take a good look.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're
Yeah.
beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
So I
Aw.
just tell her stuff like that. Like, I'm just like, whatever. And I'm like, if I have to handle the kid and the parent, let me know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
But
was like, because it starts at home. And if they're
yeah.
coming to school to pick on you, then it has to be that they're not happy at home and they're getting
They're
made
hearing
fun of or
something at
something.
home
Yes.
that they're learning how to talk to or
Mm-hmm.
talk about
Mm-hmm.
another kid in that way.
Yeah.
Like a happy kid in a happy home is not gonna go to school and be like, "You're ugly, you're fat, you're this, you're that."
Yeah, she doesn't care. She goes to school and she's so happy all the time just to be
Yeah.
interacting with her classmates. It's
Aw.
great to hear. I've heard like from other parents, they're like, "Oh, we had Sienna for the field trip. She's such a joy. Like
She's like
she's
a
so nice."
sunshine,
Yeah,
like,
and like
yeah,
everyone's like, "She's so nice."
she is.
And I'm like,
She's
I
just
hope she
like,
doesn't lose
all
it.
over.
I really don't. This is why I'm like so hesitant with the whole social media thing and
Yeah. It's hard.
I mean, because she watches like this family that does like vlogs of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
like, when they go on vacation and they post it or they're playing games at
Yeah.
home. And she's like, Mom, can we do a video like of our vacation? And I'm
Yeah.
like, sure, but we're not putting it online. I was like, you can watch it whenever you want,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's not for other people to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and then that's another thing. So that taps into the other aspect of it all. There's obviously good and bad. for social
Mhm.
media, which we know we just talked about. But when you look at families that are recording their whole lives,
Yeah.
right? From hey, wake up with me to get ready with me and all these things. And you've seen it on TikTok, you've seen it on
Mhm.
Instagram, YouTube. And it's just like, would you be able to do that? I wouldn't be able to do that. I wouldn't be able to record like my whole life. I don't want, no, I don't
You'd be
want you
bored to
knowing every
death.
single,
No.
no. Well, yeah, my life is not exciting like that. And also, I'm a Scorpio by nature. I'm very private. Like I'm
Mhm.
sharing aspects of my life here, obviously, but this I just feel like it's an important conversation to have.
Mhm. Mhm.
But there's certain things that I'm just like, I wouldn't feel comfortable. Hey, look, recording Derek and showing him on
Well,
his
I know
first.
because you like just to go back to the whole social media thing, you
Yeah.
didn't like show Derek's face for a
No.
while.
Yeah. I think I showed
And
it for the first time when he was like 8 months or
mhm.
something like that, 9 months.
Because I
I
remember
don't
you
know.
would send me photos and I would
Yeah,
see
yeah.
them and I'd share them here with Victor and stuff
Yeah.
and like
You
I'll
were
be
like,
like,
oh, this is
oh
what he
look,
looks like.
like this is what he looks like. But I was just curious, like what made you not show his face initially?
I think, and I know I've said it before with other experiences, like when I was at the hospital and gave birth, I think it was just one of those things that, and I will probably do it again with, if I do go down this road again,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's something private and personal to me at this moment, right? And I just feel like nobody needs to see this, in my opinion. If you want to go ahead and share your child and like all these things, great, good for
Mm-hmm.
you. But for me, I felt like this was something that meant so much to me
Mm-hmm.
that I wanted to hold it on to my like to ourselves, like with
Yeah.
me, as
Mm-hmm.
long as I possibly could. And I shared it with, my inner circle and like you guys, and I would just send you guys pictures and videos of things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's really all it was. And I also just wanted to contain it as long as possible because you truly never know. Like
Mm-hmm.
I told you this the other day. I went from had over like 2,000 followers and I followed a bunch of people. I have like four something people on my personal Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's private.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only place where I would possibly share. These are all people that I know personally, that I've worked with, that, I have some sort of dialogue with. They have kids and things like
Mm-hmm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I'm like, nobody, why would you want to look into my life like that if we don't even talk? Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
that's really what I look at. Like I post pictures and things on the podcast page, but
Mm-hmm.
never really showing his face or
Mm-hmm.
something like that. And I just think he didn't give me consent to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I think that's another part of it that we haven't really gotten into.
Mm-hmm.
Kids aren't able to give consent,
Mm-hmm.
right? To share whether or not they want to be exposed.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was another study that I read that it shows that kids from the minute they're born, even before birth, that they have a oh my god, what's the a blueprint? They have a blueprint. What's the
Like
word?
is a social blueprint.
A social blueprint. Even before they're born. I'm
Yeah.
guilty of it. I put up my sonogram
Sonogram
picture
photo. I was
and
gonna say I
you
did
know,
that.
but
Yeah.
that's crazy to me,
Mm-hmm.
And like I've learned like now that I'm like that's been like in my head, I'm like, that's crazy. Like what if my mom would have been sharing my picture and like doing all something like, Mom, why are you showing this picture of
Mm-hmm.
me on the toilet or something,
But then,
embarrassing and
yeah, I would never post embarrassing photos of my kids doing stuff like that, like on the toilet or in the
well, there
bathtub
are
or
people
anything. I'm
that
like,
post pictures of your
gotta be a
kids in a
limit.
bathtub,
Mm-hmm.
but then I came across there's an account. It's called Consent or something Parenting. I'll look it up and I'll share it. But she talks about she posted a video
Mm-hmm.
of her toddler and she was teaching them how to put on their own pajamas, like their
Mm-hmm.
pants and things like that. And
Oh,
some
you
creep,
did,
I
yes.
sent it to you.
Oh my
And
God,
then
yes.
some creep online was like, "Oh, move the camera upward to like see the kid like basically I guess they were
Private
under their
parts,
diaper
yeah.
and all that
Uh-huh.
stuff." And I'm like, and she took
Ew.
the video down
Mm-hmm.
after, that comment because that was like her newsflash of, oh, there are actual like people that are looking at these videos with ill intent.
Yeah.
And you're not thinking about that. You're just thinking about like, oh my God, I love my child so much and I want to
Mhm.
just show the world that this is how you can train them to do things on their own and
Yeah.
whatever. It's educational. But then you have that other flip side that's really, really dark and really
Mhm.
scary. And so I think about that stuff. And as much as I enjoy, I am so thankful for the viewers and the listeners to the podcast. I think about it and I'm like, yeah, I would love to share pictures of Derek because I think he's the most beautiful kid in the world. Of course I feel this way.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you just don't know. You
Yeah.
don't know
And it's a
who's out
public
there.
page,
It's a
so
public page.
yeah.
And
So
it's one thing for people to criticize me,
yeah.
right? To criticize me, my appearance, the way that I look, whatever it is. At this point, I've kind of built up this like confidence of, oh, okay, cool, fuck you. Like, it's
Yeah.
not gonna phase me in
Yeah.
that way. But with a kid, oh, do you have a kid in the
You have to pause.
okay. Okay. All right. I don't remember where I was at. I was talking about the social media. Yeah, so all right, we're back. Nancy cut it. There was a kid that was exposed there. So we
Yeah,
don't want to expose them
my
to
kid
social
was
media
coming
here.
onto the video here. I was like, nope, please don't.
But no, but that fit perfectly because that's one of the reasons like I don't feel comfortable sharing
Hmm.
Derek's like I don't want people knowing what he looks like. What if there's just crazy
I
people out there,
I wanted to say the school has a public. All schools have public Facebook pages. Most
Yeah,
schools,
that's
right?
scary.
So I opt out. I opted my kid out from
Okay.
any photos. So they have to blur her face or not take any pictures of her. Because
Okay.
I see there and I'll go because I see their post obviously,
Yeah.
and it's like they got like kids posing with awards, but their name is on the award.
Yeah. And the school that they're
And
going to, and
and
you
the
could just
school
Google
and the
the
direction.
address.
And I'm like, there's so many randos. Like, if you really wanted to be weird, you can go
Yeah.
on and just have all these school pages and pick your kid from the lot.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy.
this is where I'm like, I don't want my kid on any of these photos. It's like, I know, like, there was like the mystery reader thing that they did a couple months ago, and each person that went to read with their kid had a picture up from her
Oh,
class, and
yeah.
hers wasn't on there because Vic went.
Yeah.
And I was like, good, they didn't put
Oh,
her
Papa
picture.
Bear
And I
and
was
read
like,
books.
good, he didn't get his picture. Well, he got his picture taken. The teacher had it for
Yeah, but it's not
us to
exposed.
see in our app, but not exposed to the public. And I
Yeah.
think that's a big thing, that the schools have this public web page, and anyone can look at it.
Yeah.
So for you mamas out there, I want you to take a like, just think about it when they do ask you, do you
And
want
be
to opt
aware.
out? Yes, just be aware that they'll put their kid's picture up. Sometimes they won't have names, and it's fine, but you still don't know who's out there going, oh, that kid
Yeah.
looks great. I'm gonna go pick
Yeah.
him up.
Yeah. Leah, you never know. You
So
never know. It's a scary
that's always
world.
like in the back of my mind, and I'm like, nope. And I opt her out for anything.
Yeah. That's smart. That's a good tip to share because I'm not at that point yet. So now
I
I
mean, I
know
know
to
my
like
school asked, the school that we are at, they asked, do you want us to share pictures
I would
publicly?
expect every school to ask. Or for
Yeah,
you to at least know
that they're
to
taking
ask.
photos
You
and
know what I
they're
mean? Like, hey,
posting
if you're
them.
taking pictures,
Mm-hmm.
make sure that you don't post my kid.
Mm-hmm.
Blur his
Mm-hmm.
or her face
Yeah.
and then do that because I don't consent.
There's still like pictures of them like like sitting down during an assembly, and I'll see her in the crowd, like the back of her head.
Yeah,
And
okay.
I'll be like, oh, I see her.
Yeah.
But I always check the pictures to make sure they didn't forget.
Okay.
I'm just checking them.
Yeah, you check them. That's right. But that's what we're here for. Like,
Yeah.
we're their moms, you know? We are the ones that are going to protect them from anything, right? In the
Mm-hmm.
world right now, it's our responsibility to do that. And so I think everybody has a different comfort level. I understand that. But for me and what's appropriate for me and my family, I just feel like, nope, I'm going to keep it as closed into my bubble
Yeah.
as much as possible because I know that there's going to come a point that I'm not going to have control over these things,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's going to be able to do whatever he wants, right? And I think it's our role to protect them as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need some stranger knowing what school my kid goes to and what they look like so that they can be like, oh, hey, I'm your mom's friend,
Mm-hmm.
or, I'm here to pick you up. She's not here, whatever. I'm here to get you. Like, it's just crazy scenarios that
I
you
told,
think won't happen to
yeah.
you. And then you read about these stories, and I'm just like,
This is why I tell Sienna we have a code word.
okay, that's good.
And it's like if so and
I'm
so
getting so many tips
says,
from you. This is
if
good.
someone says they're here to see you, they have to give you the code word before you go with them. But even then, like the school has a list of who's acceptable to
Yeah.
pick them up, and they will verify that, and you have to like make note beforehand.
But you still have to have a backup plan because look at all this
Mm-hmm.
shit that's
And I'm
going on in
like, code
schools.
word. That's what
You
you asked
know?
for, code word, and then some
Like,
whatever word.
yeah. Like, no, seriously though, like, and I didn't even mean for this to turn into such a heavier topic, but look at all the stuff that's going on in schools with kids.
Yeah.
Like people having access to be able to go into a school that they don't even go to
Mm-hmm.
and taking lives and doing all this stuff. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, how? How does that happen?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's why a major part of it is just I need to do as much as I can to protect them. And I've had conversations with different moms too, like Giselle, my friend Giselle. Obviously, she's in the public eye,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that too. And she obviously hesitates to put some pictures up of her kids, of her girls, but she'll put up a couple of photos here and there. But she does, we've talked about it. She's like, yeah, I know. She's like, I don't put up as much as I used to because she never used to. It's not something that's in the forefront of your mind, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
all you're doing is saying, oh my God, my kid looks so cute in this
Yeah.
video. And let me just showcase that because you're proud. You're a proud parent. But there are people out there that don't have the same intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what you have to be wary of. But yeah, aside from all of that, then you back to the social media aspect of it all. Even if I give my kid a smartphone, I am controlling the apps. There is no social media that's going to be available on those phones. If by the time Derek gets a phone, there is no flip phone option because I don't know where we're moving with technology at this
I know.
point, you know, he will not have those apps. There's no educational purpose for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, TikTok has videos on like things that can teach you how to do this and do that or whatever. So does YouTube. I get that. But if we want to learn something, we're learning together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to have to learn to then teach you because you're not going to do it on your own watching a video of
Yeah.
somebody else doing it. But yeah, that's where I stand right now. It may change, right? It may change in 5 years from now. It may change in 2 years from now. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I know, because technology is advancing so much lately that it's
Yeah.
scary.
Yeah.
But I think also keeping those lines of communication with your kids, talking to them about stuff when they come with questions, and just, being as honest as possible with them too, because they know when you're lying.
Yeah. Yeah. They know. Of
they
course
know
they
they
do.
know when you're
Yeah.
lying. So it's best that way they feel comfortable coming to you with certain things.
Yeah.
And they're not like trying to look for answers on YouTube or TikTok or
Or
anything like that.
validation.
Or yeah. So
Validation because
it
they get
starts
it
at
at
home.
home.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
starts at home. You
Yeah.
gotta, it's like a little seed, and you have to like nurture it and
Yeah.
water it and let it grow. And
Yeah.
it's their little brains. You
You
gotta
know what
take
I
care
think
of
is
them.
super cute? I've
Mm.
seen videos online of usually it's like Latinos, like African American parents with their kids, and they'll teach them affirmations and they'll put them
Yeah.
on the mirrors.
Mm-hmm.
Like I am beautiful, I am
Mm-hmm.
strong, I am confident, I am, intelligent, I am
Mm-hmm.
capable, I'm this. And I'm like, oh, that's so cute. Like if
Mm-hmm.
and I think about that in everything. And I was talking to one of my friends around Mother's Day, right? Because we are talking about the mother wound that we're both experiencing and
Mm-hmm.
how Mother's Day sometimes could be a reminder of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
And we are talking about that, like if we had those tools given to us as kids growing up, would we had grown up to be, looking for validation elsewhere until we knew better, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
if our mothers had taught us to love ourselves without critiquing the fat here and this there, and I need to be smaller and I need to take up less space and
Mm-hmm.
all these things, how different would it have been for
Mm-hmm.
us, like growing up as individuals, as adult women, you know? And that's what I think of now. And so like every time I like Derek does something, I'm like, oh, you're so strong. Oh, you're
Mhm.
so, and I'm trying to start that.
Yeah.
And even like days when, like I told you, I had a really rough week
Mhm.
and I was coming, like I felt really down on myself. And I was just like, man, I should have done this better. And
Mhm.
I had to catch myself and make sure that I'm not even saying that out loud,
Mhm.
like when he's around,
Mhm.
because it is something that, even though he doesn't necessarily know how to repeat what I'm saying, he
Mhm.
understands
He
because he
senses it.
understands a
Mhm.
lot. Like,
Mhm.
and like there's days he surprises me. Like I'll tell him I'll do this, and he's like, I'm like, oh shit, he understood that. Like he understood that, and like every day he's learning more and more. And I'm just like, yeah, no, I need to catch myself. I need to not talk about these things
Mhm.
in that way. And I guess I'm lucky that I'm able to have both perspectives, like not be stuck in the negative and
Mhm.
learn how to kind of flip to the other side. Um, and then again, I'll look at Instagram and I've unfollowed accounts that I felt were contributing to this feeling.
Mhm.
But I'm an adult person. A kid isn't going to be able to do that. They're just going to think that that's the real world and
Mhm.
that's what they should aim to look for or to act like or to sound like.
Mhm.
Like even vocal fry. Like that's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, have you ever heard of vocal fry?
No. Mm-mm.
So vocal fry is this, and this is gonna so annoying. Like, yeah, so you know when girls
Oh,
talk like this, they
okay.
change the way that they sound
Uh-huh.
in order to have this like this trend that just
Mhm.
became a thing. Like I guess the Kardashians talk like that and a couple of influencers and
Oh, okay.
like
Yeah.
yeah, I'm like I don't it's whatever. You know, like this whole like I'm too cool to be bothered and you know
Okay.
whatever. That I remember that was a thing and everybody there I remember being surrounded by that and I'm like how is this? Oh, you know who does that a lot? What's her name? That girl that oh my god. I mean, this is terrible. This is going to be dead air right now. That girl that dated Kanye, Julia. My god.
I only thought Julia Childs because
No. All right, I can't cut that out
um
now.
no, no, it's I know
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Fox,
Like Julia Fox. Yeah.
right?
So I tried listening to a video of her because somebody was like, "Oh man, she's like such a like women's empowerment and all that stuff," and I somebody
Is
sent me a
she
link. Apparently,
okay?
again, I tried to watch the video and I couldn't because she's like, yeah, and maybe she had something really good to say, but I couldn't get
Immediately
past.
trash. Immediately
I
trash.
couldn't.
Oh my god.
And then I was like, maybe it's just me, but it was just bugging me,
Yeah.
right? Like the sound, it just wasn't pleasant for my
Uh-huh.
ears. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, Tom, can you listen to this? Is it just me? And he was like, what? Why does she talk like that? I was like, I
No.
don't know. I don't think that that's like a natural, right? And
Mhm.
like there was studies on that. Like there just became a trend and then like everybody started sounding this
Mhm.
way.
Okay.
Um but yeah, that's one of the things that I remember specifically when social media came out that became like the Valley Girl talk. That was
Mhm.
another thing, you know, and that was really big in the 90s with Clueless and that type of era. But you had more variety, I think. And then with the social media lens, I think there's just this trend. There's a constant trend, whether it's a weekly trend, a
I
monthly
know.
trend, a challenge, let's say,
Yeah.
the clean girl aesthetic,
Mhm.
the brownie lip, all of these things that people are following. And I'm like, dude, this was shit that we did in the 90s.
Yeah.
Also, brownie lip, like that's a Latina, like
Yeah, I know.
that has those roots. That's not new. Let's
I
not,
know.
you know,
Yeah.
the clean girl aesthetic. That's this. This is the put your hair in a bun in a claw clip. Simple. Put some lip gloss on. You're good to go. Mascara. You know,
Just
all
like
of these things
people
where
putting
I'm like,
names to things. Yeah.
yeah, like why do we need a name? Why do we need a title for things? Why can't you just be you? Right?
Mhm.
Whatever that is. Whatever you're in the
Mhm.
mood to look like or to feel like today, just be that.
Mhm.
And that's my thing. Like sometimes it annoys the shit out of me. And I'm like, why am I getting so angry? Right? Over like a trend or a challenge. And I'm like, I know why. It's because it's triggering that child, that like kid from before that felt they didn't fit in or they didn't look a certain way or whatever. When it's like,
Mhm.
this is just how you should be. You should just be
Mhm.
yourself and you accept yourself as is. You don't have to force yourself to fit into this aesthetic or into this
Yeah.
trend. And I think that's the problem when it comes to trends and challenges. What if it just doesn't? There's things that I can't wear. And we talked about it on the Mother's Day episode. You're like,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely not. No crop tops for you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I love crop tops, right? High-waisted, skinny, baggy, like all these jeans, all these different trends. I just wear whatever fits right for my body. I can't
Yep.
do the trends.
Mm-hmm.
But we're adults that have developed a fully, like, hopefully have developed a full brain at this point. You know what I mean? You guys know what I'm trying to say. A child can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I constantly think of. A child cannot decipher between what's reality and what's not, because it's really hard to tell sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, damn, JLo looks good for 50 something. And then you look
Mm-hmm.
at the picture without the filter, and you look at all these videos without the filter, and you're like, she still looks amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But this is more realistic than this
Mm-hmm.
super edited
Yeah.
picture that I'm like striving to, like, man, should I be doing shit to my face? Like, should I be doing something to me?
And it's,
You know?
it's genes too, so it's
I
not
was
like, whatever.
your
This
nutrition.
is what I'm like. There's some things that you can't control. And
Yeah.
there's some things that you can.
Yeah.
So,
Like there's nutrition, there's your sleep level, there's your stress level. There's obviously areas of privilege
yeah.
that people don't even consider privilege.
Mhm.
If you have a comfortable place to sleep and you
Mhm.
have good food, real food that you're eating versus boxed food and like all these things, like you're not really sleeping enough because you don't have childcare, you don't have this, and you have to work 2 jobs. All of that stuff contributes on
Mhm.
top of the environmental factors behind it all,
Yeah.
right? And then you have these kids that are doing all these challenges and stuff. These kids don't have to go to work. Like I'm talking about kids, right? Like kids. Like I had to go to work at a teenage year, like early age.
Mhm.
These kids don't have to stress about rent and
Mhm.
like putting food on the table and all these things, right? And so I don't know where I'm going with this. I'm just getting like upset, I guess.
So
Point is,
basically, if you're seeing something on social media, take it with a grain of salt, because there's always something in the background that's
of
building up to
course,
that certain picture or
of
video that you're looking
course,
at.
of
And
course.
probably explaining it to our kids is probably the best thing, because that's what I do with her when she's showing me stuff. I was like, this is what's going on for real, right?
Yeah,
Like, and then
yeah,
she's just like, oh, and it kind of takes the fun out of it, I think,
yeah,
for her. And so it kind
yeah,
of like shuts that whole idea down.
yeah, yeah.
I
Because
don't want to
you
be a
have,
fun suck, but
yeah, no, but you have to keep
but
things in
and I
real perspectives.
yeah, this is what I'm trying to do with her, so she understands. Like,
Yeah,
well, that's not just what you're seeing,
yeah. But how many other people don't do that because they themselves are battling still with
Yeah.
what's real and what's not. And again, these filters and stuff, they're so good. They're so good. And there's a whole team of people with these celebrities and influencers that edit, that are paid to fix these things, right? Like we don't even edit our videos, right? It's like whatever you see here is what you get. Yeah. Like we have a light that we use because if not, it'd be dim as hell. But that's pretty much it. This is what you get. You probably see a lot more wrinkles if you see me in person because I'm tired. But this is it. Like, but that's not the reality for a lot of other people on the internet. So yeah, I think it's just important to keep in mind that the way that, obviously your kid's brain is and how they're still developing all the stuff. They say that a boy's brain obviously doesn't really fully develop until they're mid-20s, I think it was that I read. And a girl is like 18, around that age, like early 20s. They obviously develop, they fully develop earlier than boys. Like that's the theory, right? But still, girls constantly get this messaging online that they're not skinny enough, they're not trendy enough, they're not this enough. And that's something that's been consistent, whether you had social media or not.
Yeah.
Because we had magazines. We had 17 magazine. There's still Cosmo out there. What was another one that I used to see all the time? I don't know. Do you remember any of those? Teen Vogue, Teen Girl. And it's like all these magazines had like 10 ways to look sexy. Or like 21 ways to
we
look
were not
cool,
their demographic.
to look cool in back to school season, or and I'm over here wearing butterfly clips in my hair and like glitter and all these other things, where I was trying to still be a kid, And
Mhm.
that's the difference. Social media now for kids, girls and boys, like there's no childhood innocence, I feel like, anymore when it
Mhm.
comes to it. Now it's grow up as quick as possible and look like a grown woman as soon as
Mhm.
possible. And that's what terrifies me with
Yeah.
all that. Do you think about that? Like with Sienna at all?
Only when I go shopping for her and I see clothes that are like completely inappropriate for her to wear.
Okay.
Like
Like what, like crop tops
obviously
and
crop tops and anything like too short or whatever cuz she's also very skinny and tall.
yeah.
But I try to keep her away from that stuff. Luckily she doesn't she still likes to wear costumes. Like today she's wearing her spider girl costume.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm not too worried on that end.
Not
But
yeah.
because
Yeah.
I kind of steer her where she needs to be. And that's important, I think,
Yeah. So if there's one thing that you can like dish out with this specific topic
for
for
kids.
moms out
And
there, yeah, with social
I
media and
think
everything.
that it's good to see what your kids are looking at. Just
Yeah.
not like overbearingly because they get annoyed. They always think that we're out to like be the bad guy.
Yeah.
I feel sometimes because
Because
that's
you
how
also
I
don't want to
thought about
impose on
my
their
mom too.
privacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just good to have open communication because I wish I would have been a little more open with my mom sometimes talking about things.
Yeah.
Uh, just to keep that line of communication open. Don't hover over them
Yeah.
too much, and just keep an eye out, an ear out. Just look for changes. Just
Yeah.
that's important, I think.
That's yeah, that's similar to what I was thinking because I feel like if I would have had a close relationship with my mom or something, and obviously if the negative self-talk wasn't coming from her to begin
Yeah, and
with.
that's another thing. Try not to
Yeah.
talk negatively to your children.
Which
It's
I just came across something, there's like something called an almond mom. Did you hear about
mhm.
that?
Oh yeah, mom and mom.
Like there's all these different things.
My
Um,
sister actually sent me that, I think, and she was like, "We should talk about this.
yeah.
Us. We should
Yeah,
talk about
no,
it,
we
and mom."
we should do like a because there's different types
Mhm.
of moms, right?
Mhm.
But we'll do another episode on that. But yeah, like I'm thinking about that stuff and similar to what you were saying is obviously we can't control every single aspect of it, right?
Mhm.
And you do want to preserve the trust between you and your child. Um, and I'm speaking from a place of obviously I'm not going through it right now, but when I get to that point, this is the approach I'm going to take. Um, I want Derek to know that I trust him and
Mhm.
I'm going to try my hardest to have him build up his own trust within himself to
Mhm.
know what's right, what's wrong, and have confidence in, like, oh no, this doesn't seem right.
Mhm.
But most importantly, I want him to be able, even if he gets into trouble somehow, right? Like if he's somehow gets into messaging somebody or whatever it is, right? Whatever hypothetical scenario I want to make up in my crazy head, I want him to be comfortable enough to come to me and say, hey, mom, this happened. And
Mhm.
like, I don't know, I am I in trouble or whatever. I want him to rather come to me and talk to me about it than be scared to talk to me about it and then hide it. And
Mhm.
then it become like a much bigger thing.
Mhm.
Because I feel like when you have that kind of trust, that's when you have your parent as your best friend, but also they're your parent.
Yeah.
It's not like that whole, oh, I'm a cool mom, I'm this. It's not
Mhm.
that necessarily, but more of I know that I can come to my mom or my dad for anything that I feel maybe I messed up, maybe I did this or whatever it is, and that they can trust that they're not going to get reprimanded in a way just by being a child that's curious and made a
Mhm.
genuine mistake, you know?
Mhm.
So that would be my suggestion. And also just keep an eye out. There are parental controls that you can put on things, whether it's the Apple ID, you can set up parental controls on YouTube, you can set up parental controls. I think Instagram has the same thing, but you can also tie it back to your email address and you can see the emails that are coming through, you can see the messages that are coming through,
Mhm.
and all of that stuff. Because again, you can only control so much. But
Mhm.
I think teaching your child to be confident and know what's appropriate, what's not, I think that's the bigger part, right?
Yes.
Um, but anyway, we went all over the place on this, but it all made to me it all ties in because it's not just one streamlined thing. It all contributes, but it all starts, like you said, at home
Mhm.
with how you guys treat things. But yeah. Anyway, any last words?
Just know that you're doing a good job.
Yeah. You guys are doing a great job, and thank you so much for listening always. If you guys have any questions, feedback, or any of the above, please share. And thank you guys so much. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys next episode.
Bye.
Bye.